Hello, this is Spartan bringing you a Starcraft map tactics video featuring Kulas Ravine. This map is a four-way map. The players spawn in each of the four corners: upper left, upper right, lower left. The main feature of this map that's sort of unusual from the other maps are these large central mesas that divide the map into two halves vertically. What this causes is it tends to cause most of the action of the games to filter through this central area, which is a lot different than most maps, because most maps have sort of a perimeter that the armies can move around in addition to the central area, whereas here there's no perimeter. There's sort of a perimeter where you can break through these rocks here. If you break through both sets of rocks, you can sort of create a perimeter, but even so, it's a tight choke. So in general, not too much action flows through these points. Most of the action flows through the center of the board or by air. So for that reason, it tends to be an air-heavy map, and in general there's long scouting times and long attack times because you can't attack directly across the map. You have to always attack through the center. The map sort of tends to favor the Protoss and Terran because of these central mesas, because they have more cliff jumping options than the Zerg does. You know, for example, Reapers and Colossi can just sort of hop right over the mesas or cliffs, and Zerg doesn't often have that option. So it's kind of a difficult map for Zerg. In each base, there's two expansions. There's one expansion that's protected by rocks, and it's very well defensible. So once you get this expansion, you have a lot of defensive options because you're on the high ground. The other expansion, the immediate expansion, the natural, is actually quite vulnerable because there isn't too much protection at all from attacks, either from the mesa or from around through the center or through the back door if the rocks are broken down. So it's kind of a very tricky map because you have to sort of decide, how to expand. In general, players tend to take their natural, and that tends to lead to a lot of aggression because the natural is so exposed. So why don't we look at some of the other features of the map? The golds are in the center of each side, and they're even more exposed than the naturals. You can see not only are they exposed to attacks from the sides, but also there's a platform right above the gold. So any unit can get up on this platform, and unless the player with the gold has sight, they can attack it with impunity. Also, another feature of this map to notice is all the Xel'Naga towers. There's one there. So you got a lot of Xel'Naga towers. Another interesting feature are these little trees here, which create these little pockets of invisibility. And so these can be used either by friends or by enemies. One thing you want to watch out with these pockets is you want to make sure that someone isn't hiding tech there, or they're not using it as a proxy. So you want to be careful of this area as a way of hiding units. Another feature of the map is are these little central mesas or ridges as well, which are also good for basically attacking enemy units. So you can sort of put a unit with up here to get sight, or you can put a unit up here to attack. So as an army is trying to come through the center to attack, your siege tank or whatever is bombing the army. So let's think about some of the race-specific aspects of this map. For example, for Zerg, one thing you want to try to do is as you expand out to your natural, you want to try to get creep around this little donut hole feature. The reason why is if someone's attacking you or attacking through, they're most likely going to come this way through the center, and you want to be able to flank them. You'd like to get, say, a lot of Zerglings to come around and attack them from behind. and it's much easier to do that if you have creep all the way around this feature. Also, if you can get creep into the center, that'll give you an advantage, a mobility advantage. So in general, the Zerg basically tries to get creep out to his natural and then get creep into the center to improve mobility. Another key thing for a Zerg on this map is you absolutely need to take down these rocks as soon as you claim your natural. And the reason why is if you don't take down these rocks, then the mesa can serve as a staging ground to attack you. Like, for example, if you just occupy this natural without taking down these rocks, a person can, for example, hop a Reaper up here or a Colossus or something and just take out your expansion. Like, imagine what a Colossus could do. Like, if you don't have control up here, the Colossus could just step up here, take out all your drones in basically one shot, and then step down again. I mean, that's how bad it would be. So having control of this area is very important when you have the natural up, especially if you're Zerg. For the Terran, this map has some interesting features too. Like, for example, especially if you're playing it two against two, you want to try to control this center area at all costs. You could even consider putting a planetary fortress like right there just to control the center of the map. I mean, it sounds kind of extreme, but you could, just to see what that looks like. If you look at this screenshot here, you can see this is kind of like what a planetary fortress looks like in that location. So you can see there is enough room for units to go around, but it creates sort of a choke. And if it's a planetary fortress, it'll be really difficult for an enemy army to run past there. So another aspect of this map that makes it kind of good for Terran is there's a lot of places for sieges to act powerfully. You can get sieges up on these platforms and they can bomb expansions. Also, sieges can be used defensively. Like, for example, if you take down these rocks and you expand to the higher level, you can put siege tanks up here, and they can be very powerful defensive items. Another interesting feature of the map is due to the sort of the way it's structured. There's a lot of scope for using sensor towers, because you can sort of have a sensor tower very forward in this map, yet still be protected. And normally that's what you look for putting down a sensor tower, is a situation where you can really protect it, because they're expensive. So they really only make sense if you can really put it down in a place where it can see a lot of stuff and be protected at the same time. And that's the case. Like, for example, let's say you're a Terran and you're in the lower left. You can get a sensor tower right around here, behind this wall here, and it's actually quite a protected position if you've seized this natural expansion and you have a defensive perimeter. You put a little sensor tower here, and you can literally see everything that's happening in this whole quadrant of the map, because a sensor tower in this position will see anything that goes through the center of the map, anything that goes through here, and it will see anything that happens in this expo. So basically, if you've got another player on this side and you have a sensor tower here, it'll basically see anything that he does, and it'll also, even if there's somebody up here, it'll still show anything that comes through the center. So, there's a little bit of scope for using sensor towers in this map. Another interesting strategy for Terran on this map is to float your base out. Like, for example, what you can do is, even at the very beginning of the game, if you're really sort of paranoid about rushes, you can sort of float your base to the island. It's not an island, but to the higher level expansion here, the protected expansion, and set it down. And now you've got two sets of rocks protecting you. So basically, you're going to be immune to rushes. Also, in cases where there's a base trade going on or something like that, or a worker rush or something like that, once again, you just load up the command center, float to the island, and you're all set. So for Protoss, Protoss has got a lot of options here too. Like I was saying earlier, a Colossus can just sort of step onto these maces, blow stuff away, and then retreat again. Also, these maces offer a lot of opportunity for you to abuse blink, right? You can sort of just blink all around here. Like if you got somebody down here, you can come in through the center, blink up to this platform, shoot them, blink down again. You can really really abuse blink in this map. For the Zerg, one thing you can also do if you're using your overlords is you can sort of float them out over these mesas to sort of spy on your opponent, and because when they get shot at, they can sort of quickly retreat back and be in safety if your opponent doesn't have any air. So those are most of the main points of this map. One other feature you want to kind of watch out for is there is some hidden areas down here, like you see at the very bottom of the map where these cliffs are. These cliffs are actually 2 levels high, so they actually afford a hiding spot. Like if you go, I have this screenshot here. So here there's a Viking in that area, and you see, can't even see it. Now, of course, if the player is any good, he's going to have his health bars on all the time, and he's going to see you have a unit there if it's in his visibility. But there are actually some players, believe it or not, who play without health bars, and for those kind of players, a unit that's in this location will be completely invisible to them. So, like for example, if you have a ghost or something here, then it's kind of problematic because now the ghost can lay down a nuke or something over here, and you won't even see him. So there's sort of these hiding spots, and that's going to be true in any map where you have a 2-level cliff, as you do here. So those are the main features of the map. In general, when you're thinking about strategizing this map, you want to pay special attention to the golds and try to figure out, okay, how am I going to secure the gold? Because in this map, that's sort of the winning strategy, because it's so easy to access the gold. You expand to the natural, expand to the gold. You can even make a fast expand. It's kind of risky, but it's possible. Like for example, there's a lot of scope for just sort of hiding your expansion, right? You can sort of expand here and then put a secret base here. It's kind of a risky strategy, but this is the sort of map that it supports. Also, because you have these islands, if you can get a drone or whatever up here, then it can be sort of a hidden expo, right? You sort of put your drone up here or even up here, and unless they have air control, then or some other way to see up this cliff, they're not even going to know that you have that expansion. So another thing to strategize about is how to use these invisible areas, because there's a lot of different ways to use them. You can hide a little army there, put a pylon there. Like for example, if you put a pylon here, then you can warp in units to this mesa, for example. So and in general, of course, that's what Protoss is going to be doing. They're going to be putting pylons next to these mesas so that they can warp in units on top of them, and also so they can get visibility onto the mesa. So anyway, those are the main features of Kulas Ravine. This is Spartan. I hope you enjoy the video. I'll be trying to do some more of these map tactics videos to give you a good idea of how to use the different maps and the terrain in the maps. Signing out, this is Spartan.